Hi, I'm Tim Tyler, and today I'll be discussing whether the advent of intelligent machines will have the effect of making humans redundant. If you visit a supermarket these days, you may notice that some of the checkout agents have been replaced by machines. Similarly, many clerks in banks have been replaced by machines.
It's amazing for some of us to remember that we didn't always have automated teller machines as a ready source of cash. But
though the environment is less familiar to most people, the insides of many factories are also heavily dominated by robots. It seems likely that what we have seen so far is the tip of the iceberg, and that as machine capabilities grow in the future, many more tasks will become susceptible to automation. With the advent of machine intelligence, it seems likely that technological development will move forward at a dramatic pace, resulting in relatively rapid mastery of molecular nanotechnology, nuclear fusion, robotics, and the creation of synthetic living systems. If that happens, there is a real possibility that most humans will be made redundant. Here is James Hughes describing the scenario.
Well, that's the general thesis of structural unemployment as a consequence of automation, and utopians have advocated for that for a long time, the notion that we might be able to get rid of drudgery by replacing human drudgery with machines or with engineered animals or whatever. And it's become, that expectation has come and gone, and we've seen, in the 1960s, a group of economists wrote to President Kennedy and said, we are going to expect in the next 10, 15 years that there's going to be massive unemployment as a result of automation. We have to start preparing for that now. Well, they were wrong, and one of the reasons that they were wrong is that the economy does create new jobs to do new things that people want to done that weren't done before. And once you get rid of mining, once you get robots into mining, well, then there's industrial jobs. You get robots into industrial jobs, well, then there's service industry jobs. But the problem that we have now is that we're beginning to get, if we get robust AI, we will be able to replace with far superior AI human labor in service and intellectual occupations, and after that there ain't nowhere to go, right? There's only a few emotional occupations where people will probably continue to prefer humans, although if you watch the movie AI again, it makes quite plausible the notion that robotic prostitution will be superior to human prostitution, and we've already seen that robotic psychiatry is a hell of a lot cheaper and almost as effective as human psychiatry. So I don't know if there's any intellectual, creative occupations, anything that we can do better than machines ultimately. And when we get to that point, then everybody's going to be unemployed. We have to figure out, are we just going to let everybody die? Or are we going to figure out how to feed everybody? And if we're going to figure out how to feed everybody, then you can't have to get paid. You can't have to do work to get paid. And that's a whole new social contract.
Now, we do already have social institutions to handle unemployed people. They normally receive a minimal handout from the government. Another perspective is given by Hans Moravec.
So imagine the human abilities as kind of a landscape with some peaks, which are the things we do well, and some valleys, which are the things we do really, really badly. There are things that we do extremely well, which are things that were important in our survival for most of our evolutionary history, things like moving around and socially interacting and perceiving the world. And there are things that we have only recently learned how to do, things like general reasoning. An extreme example is arithmetic, where we are very, very, very inefficient. Computers are different. They are universal machines. With an efficient program, they can do almost any one of these tasks equally well in some abstract informational sense. So the skill of computers can be likened to a water level that's uniform. The water level is rising. And it's rising at a rate that is about 10 million times faster than the rate at which we evolved those abilities. That and a number of other calculations lead me to believe that the highest peaks will be covered by this rising flood in less than 50 years. But once the level of computer competence has risen beyond the best human engineers, then there won't be any human engineers. There will be robotic or computer engineers.
Moravec's conclusion seems similar. Machines will competitively displace humans in the job market. However, not everyone seems to think that this displacement of humans by machines will take place. For example, here is Ray Kurzweil on the topic.
You know, if I were a prescient futurist in 1900, I'd say, okay, a third of you work in factories and a third of you work on farms. Well, 100 years from now, in the year 2000, that's going to be 3% and 3%, and you go, oh my God, we're all going to be unemployed. I'd say, well, don't worry, you're going to get jobs as web designers and chip technology designers and a lot of other things, social network entrepreneurs. You wouldn't know what I was talking about. We have managed, in fact, to increase employment, including very recently. If you look at all the jobs that are going to go away, it always looks very daunting, but we've managed to keep up with it. And the new job, in terms of pay, the new jobs actually pay 8 times as much as they did 100 years ago in constant dollars.
So, is Ray right? Will machines supplement human capabilities rather than competitively displacing them in the job market? Next, here's Robin Hanson giving an economic analysis of the situation.
If you look at economists looking at the subject, the first economist was Ricardo back in 1821. He's a very famous economist. He thought of machines as substituting for people. And if you think of machines as substituting for people, you'll say that the wages that you pay a person when there's a machine available have to fall to the level of the machine, because you wouldn't pay the person more than you'd pay the machine, because you could use the machine instead. Wicksell is the first I know of in 1920s to explicitly offer the opposite point of view and the more modern point of view, that most machinery and automation is thought of as a complement. So what we've seen over the last century or two is that as machines have gotten better, wages have risen. That as machines are more effective, and that's made people more valuable, not less valuable. And the idea is that machines and people are complements. The more you want one, the more you want the other. However, I think the more sophisticated view that takes both of these into account and combines them is to understand that the tasks we do, the mental tasks we combine, those complement each other. There's lots of different tasks we need, and the better we can get at one task, the more valuable other tasks are. But agents, that is machines or robots or people, can compete to do a particular task. So what I've set out here on the x-axis is imagine spreading out all the various mental tasks that we have to do, various kinds of jobs we have, or even within a brain, the various kinds of things our parts of our brains do, or the kinds of things we do on our job, and sort them in a way so that over here we have the kinds of tasks that humans are best at relative to machines, and over on the left we have the kinds of tasks that humans are worst at relative to machines. So for any given level of the ability of machines, we'll have the machines doing the worst task, the task that we're the worst at relative to us, and we'll be doing the rest of the task. Early on, when machines aren't very good, as they get a little better, they will sort of, as these water fills up in this canyon, these will become better at these tasks. These tasks will become more productive because machines will be doing them better, and that will make all these other tasks more valuable. However, eventually, as machines get better and better,
both Hanson and Moravec use the metaphor of a rising tide of machines. Initially, when machines are primitive and expensive, there will indeed be a tendency for machines to take the poor and dirty jobs that humans find repetitive or unpleasant, freeing the humans for higher tasks. However, it probably won't be very long before machines are better at practically everything. Today's machines may seem relatively uninspiring. However, many factory, warehouse, retail, cleaning and farming jobs do not seem to me to be that far out of reach. Then will come driving, clerical work, telephone work, personal assistance, and so on, gradually eating up the job market until they decimate it completely. At first, displaced humans will find less easily automated tasks to perform. However, eventually automation will eat up jobs faster than humans can find new, useful economic areas to migrate into. Machines add value, and so contribute positively to the economy, so there will be more wealth in total. However, the opportunities for inequalities will grow, since much of the money will be siphoned off by the machine manufacturing companies. Naturally, the government will tax these companies to help pay for the welfare of the unemployed humans. However, by the time that stage is reached, the humans are essentially parasites on a machine-driven economy. The companies will try to find offshore tax havens. They will lobby the government for lower taxes, threatening to take their business to countries offering them a better deal. Once humans are redundant, their position seems likely to be unstable to me. They might persist for a while, but their long-term prospects do not look very good. What about the idea that humans will persist by engineering themselves, or by becoming cybernetic organisms? As I have explained elsewhere, these proposals do not appear to be remotely realistic to me. In almost any scenario where there is natural selection, or a kind of capitalist analogue of it, it seems likely that machine agents are likely to eventually competitively displace conventional biological ones, except in historical simulations and museums. I think this is the most likely outcome. I think this helps explain some of the interest in self-directed evolution scenarios, since they have some potential to avoid such competition by creating universal cooperation, and thus they could theoretically create a civilization that continues to support human life. Enjoy.